Us, abandoned ship. We're not caring about this car. We're thinking about the next year.
Exit clauses, yada yada yada.
Hulkenberg is the blue shell right now. Angle grinder guy, he gets a raise.
There you go.
Whoa.
He gets both salaries.
There you go.
What are they doing with the 5th and 6th seats?
Yeah, it's just Weenie Hut Formula One Junior now.
They don't fire up the same way that F1 cars do.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Tyred Boys podcast. I'm your host, Justin.
And I'm Aaron. Welcome back, everyone. We've got a packed episode for you today. Having a couple weeks off in between races. Motorsports and the motorsports world does not sleep, so plenty to get into this week. But Justin, it's good to see you. We had the Emilia Romagna Grand Prix at Imola this week, so a really, really exciting race weekend. I'm sure no one knows why I would be happy about the way things shook out.
Yeah, seems to be a pretty decent track there for Max Verstappen. This is a track where I see the houses on that are backed up, that have like the balconies that are backed up right along the track. I see the families all there with, their like Ferrari flags and whatnot. I'm just like, man, what a just sweet piece of real estate that must be. But yeah, I love the Emilia Romagna Grand Prix. The Imola circuit is quite beautiful in that regard, just like tucked in the little, I don't even know, like hamlet I want to call it, right? But yeah, so it's a really nice circuit. And this race was pretty good. So yeah, I'll be excited to talk about it.
Yeah, but before we get into all the action there, we'll get into the quick hitters for this week to get us rolling. First off, the Indy 500 is coming up, so looking forward to the race at the Brickyard. We had the Indy Street Course a couple weeks ago, where we saw them race on that street circuit, kicking off kind of the month of Indianapolis for these drivers, where they're there for that street circuit race, then the Indy 500 practices, qualifying, and then Indy 500. But some kind of shenanigans and interesting tidbits with the Indy 500. We saw the Team Penske cars both make it through into the later stages of qualifying. However, after the qualifying was completed, they both have been penalized and will be starting from the back of the grid due to making modifications to a component of the bodywork that is a standard part that you get from IndyCar. It's not one of those pieces that they're allowed to do work on the car. And they had kind of smoothed out a little bump on this component, so making a change and kind of bridging this little aerodynamic blip at the rear wing. They were found afterwards. I guess someone maybe saw them making this modification to the car to, like, I don't think it was intentionally something that they were like, oh, let's cheat. I think they were like, oh, this is like not aerodynamically like efficient, and to get our top speed, like, let's do this. And probably didn't, I would imagine it didn't seem very under the cover of darkness, I guess. So
Okay.
either way, violating that rule, they dropped to the back of the field for the start, and so that would be oh gosh, Scott. I think it's Scott McLaughlin and Joseph Newgarden who are going to be starting from the back of the grid. So a tough spot for the two of them, or the two Team Penske drivers that are going to be at the back. Another thing that was interesting, this same modification was seen by someone on Joseph Newgarden's winning car from last year's Indy 500, that is in a Indy 500 museum at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. So potentially they had done the same thing last year and not gotten caught at all.
Oh
So
no.
another reason where I feel like it maybe wasn't intentional, like if they did it last year, no one said anything. They were just like, let's just like we did it last year and it was fine, so let's do the same thing. Um, but yeah, kind of a peculiar incident there with the Team Penske drivers.
Yeah, that's a really weird one. You would think that would be like covered pretty explicitly in the rules and regulations, especially for such a big event. This is IndyCar's like main event, flagship event, biggest thing of the year. So yeah, really odd that they're kind of go with the like we didn't really know. But if they got away with it last year, it's like, okay, so like what's going on there in the application of those rules and regulations? So that's an odd one. I almost want to be like, I wonder where the oversight was like last year, if it is indeed like the same type of like body work uh
Adjustment or yeah, like
adjustment. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, that's just like an odd one overall, especially for and like just coming from the driver's side of it, especially Scott McLaughlin and Joseph Newgarden.
so it's actually Willpower and Joseph Newgarden. Scott McLaughlin, who had crashed, his car did not have that same modification on it.
Interesting. Okay, so just two of the three then.
Correct. Yeah, I just had
Gotcha.
I had Scott McLaughlin thrown in there when it was Willpower and Joseph Newgarden's
Okay,
cars.
so maybe willpower a little bit less. I'd consider him maybe like a little bit of a dark horse, maybe a little bit of a wild card. Usually can be seen like running at the front of races. But I think in the conversation between those two, I would expect Joseph Newgarden to like be capable of winning the Indy 500 between the two. So and I say that to say I think both of them would be in the conversation as like possible entrants to actually win the race. So unfortunate that they're getting handicapped significantly for something that's ultimately like on the garage side. You have to figure they likely wouldn't have had much to do about that.
Yeah, I can't imagine that they're like, "Oh, guys, like we need to do this." That feels like more of an analytical, like you're seeing the arrow or some of the data from the car, and you're like, "Oh, that's just not working the way like we should," or this will give us more speed on the circuit and everything with how tight
For
the
sure.
Indy 500 qualifying is. That being said, Robert Schwartzman, Prima Racing rookie taking pole position here for the Indy 500. So he's someone that we know a little bit from the backgrounds of F1 over the past couple years. He had been the 2019 Formula 3 champion. He's a multiple race winner in Formula 2. He went on to be Ferrari and Sauber's test and reserve driver from 2022 through last year, 2024. And I believe he had raced for Prima kind of on his way up through. So that connection, bringing him into the IndyCar field there with Prima Racing and being the first rookie in over 40 years to take pole position at the Indy 500.
Kyle Larson, where you at, dude? They're coming for your spot. You better look out.
Yeah, I mean, he's very impressive so far, and I think from what I've seen early on in the IndyCar season, Schwartzman has consistently been running in good positions. He's not quite all the way at the front of the field yet, but uh, for him and also for Prima being a new entrant into IndyCar this year to get pole position for the 500 in their first year is pretty awesome for them as well. Like that's definitely a cool moment to kind of get to hang your hat on a little bit from the team perspective there. So a lot of excitement left with the Indy 500. Some less exciting things I alluded to a little bit earlier, but Scott McLaughlin had a pretty rough crash during the Indy 500 qualifying, and then similarly, Colton Herta had a pretty nasty crash. And of course, with Yuki Tsunoda's crash at the Emilia Romagna qualifying, these halos and the safety modifications to the cars are just incredible. Some of these crashes are, if you go back and watch any of them, which I mean, they're pretty rough and pretty heavy hits to all three drivers. But the fact that they all walked away safely, Yuki Tsunoda hopped out of the car no problem after tumbling into the tire barrier and everything. Um, Definitely a just a great thing to see that safety level of these vehicles when they're going at these insane speeds and these fast circuits.
Yeah, it's really yeah, it's something to see the drivers bounce back so quick. I'm thankful that everybody was okay from their crashes this weekend. But yeah, you really said it. It's the halos and the the large. I guess that's like the large duct that's at the top that creates
Oh yeah,
that little the little
mm,
nestle for like the driver to sit in. Yeah, that all works quite well because from the angle that you get for Sonoda specifically, it actually looks like he's getting dropped just like right on his head. So it's like, man, what is
yeah,
going on there? So yeah, really encouraging, I guess you would say, to see so many of the safety protocols working. And we'll talk about it just in a little bit. There's sometimes the safety protocols go overlooked, but overall, yeah, it's nice to see these drivers walk away because now they can go and battle another day. Sonoda's back in the car the next day, scooping up points. So it's like, what was really going wrong here? So it allows the drivers to have confidence to be able to push, and give spectators like an entertaining show, but also know that like they'll be safe if God forbid something goes wrong.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's the at the level that Formula One, IndyCar, these motorsports are, the continued progress in the safety aspects and everything, and obviously they're continuing to improve as they can, but they've definitely some of these things that have been implemented are life saving kind of things. I mean, we saw similar with Zhou Guan Yu a couple years back, a similar incident to what Colton Herta had, where the car's skidding on upside down on top of the halo, keeping the driver safe all the way through. But um, but yeah, with that being said, Indy 500 coming up soon. It's the greatest spectacle in motorsport. It's exciting, so keep an eye out. It will be coming up in the next couple of weeks. So a good one to keep an eye out for. Some other motorsports news related to Max Verstappen. He's back to his shenanigans. He's out here doing sim racing endurance championships uh, after qualifying sessions and setting fastest laps in that. He is going out and setting lap records in GT3 cars at the Nürburgring, where he went to do a Nordschleife test session under the pseudonym Franz Hermann. So kind of not not actually trying to like be incognito, very clearly driving the Verstappen.com car in his like white lion racing helmet and everything. But to keep his name kind of off the guest list so that it didn't overshadow the event or kind of cause a circus around it. A kind of neat thing to see him start to dabble into these other racing series, and clearly shows his passion for that, for just the other areas of motorsports. Our favorite man, Helmet Marco, was talking about how Max is involved with just so many things with racing, having his sim racing team, his GT3 team, doing some of these tests himself, and apparently is also involved with developing software for the simulators that F2 and F3 are using. So he's like just lives, breathes racing. I think we all kind of knew that already, but um, it's always interesting to see all these tertiary things that that some of the drivers do, and of course Alonso and some of the other drivers have talked about wanting to do Le Mans or some of these other endurance championship races in the future. But um, yeah, very cool to see, especially for me being a fan of Max. So
Yeah, it's always interesting to hear that World Endurance Championship is like your favorite racing driver's favorite racing series. They all kind of like look to that and as like in some way their next challenge. So it's funny that that's a consistency among some drivers, but also I hope eventually people get used to having Max at a track when he isn't necessarily racing, to support his teams and his drivers that he's giving drives to, and to use the word again, like supporting if he's like sponsoring young drivers like on his team. We're gonna have to get used to him being there on the pit wall, like in a management capacity. But
yeah.
yeah, the Franz Herman story was very funny. We see people spinning it to be like, who's the only person that could be, the second Red Bull driver. It's like, oh, it's Franz Herman. It's just like Max Verstappen's photo with like a mustache on. So I thought that was just very funny over the story of the weekend. So yeah, fun to see what these drivers are doing in their spare time. When they're not at the Formula One events. But yeah, Max seems to always be at a circuit, whether it's in person or virtual.
Yeah, if you see him anywhere, it's at a racetrack or behind a sim. So definitely just one of his. It's what he loves. But um, talking into the next quick hitter, just there were a few tracks and circuits with expiring contacts. Imola being one of them. So for this weekend, there is no Imola Grand Prix that is signed up for in the future at this point, which is it's not the most exciting to hear because I feel like we did have a pretty good race this weekend. It wasn't um, obviously they talk about some of these older tracks being smaller and less overtaking opportunities and things like that, which there is a little bit of that here in Imola, but overall it still created a really exciting and fun race weekend. So that Barcelona is expiring in 2026 along with Circuit of the Americas, Zandvoort, Baku. So a number of these kind of classic Formula One tracks at this point who have a lot of history, are well liked tracks by the drivers and fans, potentially going away over the next couple of years.
Yeah, and I think it'll be unfortunate for some tracks, but also it opens up, the possibility to go to some others. Like you had said with Max and the and some of his aspirations. Like, I don't know if this is something that ever happens again, but like, yeah, if you take an Imola off the calendar, it opens you up to, something else is going to be added in its place, and it
Right.
could be,
Yeah.
and it could be an exciting race. And this is why I brought up Max again. The Nordschleife famously, is no longer something that Formula One has had on the calendar. But maybe as safety measures increase, maybe it's something that gets brought into the conversation again. Like now, yeah, of course you lose this track, but that would be something very exciting, right? That would be just like mind-blowingly new for like modern Formula One fans. So yeah, sometimes you'll lose out, but hopefully it's in the spirit of adding some diversity year on year and being able to maybe visit some tracks that we're not always at. So yes, maybe some of my favorites will not be on the calendar. I know, you wouldn't be a fan of seeing Circuit of the America go. That'd be unfortunate. I would hate to see Spa not get a contract. But if we do get to go to some other cool tracks, like I'm all for it. I just don't want to see the move to like having 15 like Las Vegases in a year, I'm just
Yeah.
gonna go watch something else. Unfortunately, but as long as the tracks stay interesting and like dynamic as far as the racing that they offer, yeah, I understand for business you gotta shake it up. So I don't take like a hard hat to that, but I do have my favorites, obviously.
Yeah, of course, and I think that's a good point. I am I was seeing the glass half empty a little bit with it of like, oh, we're losing these tracks that I've enjoyed watching racing at.
Mhm.
They're like things that are staples of the calendar for me in Formula One, and so seeing them go, but there's always that opportunity to add some other exciting tracks or go to new places in the world, not necessarily more Las Vegas's or having to do street circuits everywhere, but maybe we do get a race in Africa like has been talked about and Lewis Hamilton has pushed for in over the past few years and everything, or other sections of the world that don't have races. I think that would be cool if it makes room for those things as well. But we'll continue to see as some of these circuits. It's very possible some of those tracks that I mentioned do get renewed for even a rotational basis, where maybe we don't see it every year, but maybe every other year. So there's those opportunities as well. Um, but then just the last couple quick hitters here, I'll run through pretty quickly. But
Go for it.
McLaren, another throw something at the wall, see if it sticks. Red Bull had at one point said they thought that McLaren was using water inside the tires to cool them or something to that effect. There were some inspections done to Oscar Piastri's car after Miami, and they were cleared of any shenanigans or any weirdness with that. So just another thing that Red Bull can check off their list of, we still don't know why their car is so much faster in most tracks, but it's not that. So they're slowly narrowing down those things. And then with the FIA, there was conversation or an article about Mohammed Ben Sulayem, the FIA president, considering removing the cost cap from Formula One. And there were also some more amendments to the rules and guidelines. They had some reductions of the fines for drivers, but then added in some additional provisions about abusing stewards and getting grid penalties and time penalties if these things happen during the race. So still limiting kind of the speech of the drivers, but in some other areas reducing some of the fines. So hopefully they're finding a middle ground and just keeping the conversation going with the drivers about their and teams about their thoughts on these things as well. But in terms of removing the cost cap in Formula One, he said that it is a headache for the FIA to keep track of. Um, but I think it has genuinely, over the past couple of years, kind of done what it was supposed to and forced the grid to be a tighter, more competitive grid in terms of where these teams are. No team can just out money the other teams like McLaren, Red Bull, Mercedes would do to the Williams and Alpine and some of these smaller outfits. So whether it's difficult or tedious for the FIA, I think it actually has succeeded so far in what its intention was. And so in my mind, I think that there's no reason to get rid of it at this point, because it's been effective.
Yeah, I think the combination of engine freeze, cost cap, and ground force generated downforce all have really just like smushed the field just very nicely together. And I do believe it's like it's a multivariate, there's a lot of things coming all together for it to happen. But yeah, we've seen just the racing improve year on year over the last 3 years. I believe like each time we've been like, oh, is this the best year? Oh, wait, no, I think this one's actually the best year. So yeah, to your point, I think right now these things are working. I understand as far as like the ground force generation, like that may change in the future, but right now, like you're saying, having teams be limited in how much they're able to just like pound on the upgrades to their car, having it be these like very intentional moments throughout the year, teams planning like, oh, like we're targeting like Silverstone for like our first like really big upgrade package and then going from there. Like I like that vibe to a year, rather than just hearing like Mercedes, oh, Mercedes spent another $2 billion on their front wing. I bet they're going to be fast this weekend. It's like, oh, okay, you
Yeah.
know. So yeah, I do believe the competition has smushed in that regard. So yeah, just kind of happy to see it. I believe it's working. I hope old boy Ben doesn't take it away from us.
Yeah, well, moving into the "Do You Work Here" section of the episode, we can continue on, and Ben might not have his say if things shift because there are reports of some other folks being interested in running for the FIA presidency. Carlos Sainz Sr. being one of the names that recently has come out as a potential candidate for the FIA presidency. Max was asked about it, and he said, like, I think he would probably do a really great job in that position, but like, there is a small like potential conflict of interest. But in general, like Max was like, hey, have at it. And then Mohammed Ben Slayem was reported to want to be able to veto people from running for the FIA presidency, which came out shortly after the rumors of Carlos Sainz Sr. And I'm like, that feels a little sketchy. Him just being like, I mean, just veto every single person that's trying to run against him. Just be like, oh, you want to run? Ah, no, out of here. Sorry, vetoed. It's like you can't give the sitting president that power to just be like, nope, no one can run against me. Um, so yeah, interesting things with the FIA. Looking at Cadillac, there were some new reports in terms of their driver lineup that they're looking at for 2026. Colton Herta is reportedly out of consideration, so we will have to wait longer before we get a one of these solid IndyCar guys to make the hop over, so that we can have that comparison a little bit. But it was reported that Mick Schumacher was having conversations in Miami with the Cadillac team, so he and Checo, Zhou Guanyu as well, all still in that conversation for that seat, or for those seats at the Cadillac team. And then we have the most exciting topic of Do You Work Here? Alpine, who have made a number of changes over the past 2 weeks. Firstly, with Flavio Briatore having been brought back into the Alpine team, who he is a pretty inflammatory character. Then the team principal, Oliver Oakes, leaves the team, resigns from the position, and it is reported that he and uh, his brother was arrested in the UK, and he, I guess, was working with his brother to illegally circumvent the ban on the Mazepin family and all, I guess, Russian oligarchs from doing business in the UK. They were like being like a uh little salesperson for the Mazepin family. So Oliver Oakes resigns from Alpine and flees to Dubai to hide from the law. Uh, so he won't be extradited back to face punishment for that. And Flavio Briatore becomes the new old team principal here at Alpine.
Wild stories, wild scenes. Reading Flavio Briatore's like little rap sheet very much was that. It is a rap sheet. It's like this may be a bad comparison, but it's what I thought of when I was reading it. It's like uh the director that did Signs. My lord, I had it, but now I can't think of his name. But it's like he keeps missing just over and over and over. This guy just keeps missing, but people keep giving him money to make movies. People keep giving Flavio Briatore money to like run their Formula One teams. So yeah, this guy, total character. I'm surprised that he's like allowed back in, that people like consider him like a trustworthy individual that they want to trust with the responsibility of like running a team. We have the note here about Crashgate where he's like wanting drivers to crash to impede the progress of other ones, like actively trying to get this into motion. So he's like a known cheater. Like
He,
that's literally cheating. He's like a known cheater,
he
and
was
Formula One's like, yeah, it's fine.
Well, he was permanently banned from Formula One, and then he got a bunch of rich lawyers to take it to French court and got
Yeah.
the ban overturned. So he's got some high powered friends getting him back into Formula One. He was also Jack Doohan's manager before he fired Jack to bring Colapinto back in. He is yeah, he's definitely an inflammatory and interesting character in Formula One, and being back around the paddock currently with the Alpine team. But then that last little bit of news, Jack Doohan out after 5 races. Um, didn't get the opportunity I would have hoped for, but I guess when you decide as a team to sign another driver, buy out their contract from Williams, do all these things, um, mediocre isn't enough when you've got a guy that you're like, we're wasting money to let him sit on the bench. So not anything that in my opinion Jack did wrong, just another one of those situations in Formula One where the the timing, the situations within these teams and everything of when you get your opportunity to drive and all can either can sometimes make or break you without you having any say in it to some extent. So tough spot for Jack, but Colapinto coming in kind of just to test and see how he does here over the next stretch of the season.
Yeah, it's wild the amount the very minuscule amount of chances that these drivers are given. I'm like my heart goes out to Jack Doohan in a way that I don't even understand. Like that just sucks because you're right. He probably didn't do anything wrong. Could other drivers have like gotten more out of the car or whatever? So yeah, that's just a tough spot to be in for him and any other driver that it's like happening to. Even like the Lawson swap out. You go into the year like visualizing one thing, and they're just like, "Oh no, you like kind of suck. We're gonna like swap up here." So yeah, a lot of yeah, dude. You could say the VIX is high in that regard. The volatility index is through the roof.
Yeah, it's up there with Alpine at the moment, and of course they haven't even said Colapinto is in for the rest of the season. They're like,
Right.
as long as
He's
he
got four
does
races to go.
well, that Flavio, he put the kibosh on that. He's like, I don't know where people got this 5 races thing.
Sure.
He's like, even though I think he's the one who said it,
That was
but
my understanding, yeah.
yeah, but just to say, I guess this weekend he clarified that as long as Colapinto isn't just constantly smashing up the car, they're gonna let him run and see what he can do with it. There's some foreshadowing there for you, but the last piece of the do your work here segment, there were some reports that Christian Horner may be on the outs at Red Bull as the team principal. No news on that yet. It was all denied across the weekend by Christian Horner. Anytime it was brought up, he just kind of brushed it off as idle gossip. Um, but yeah, we'll see if anything does shift in the Red Bull camp after this weekend. I think it would be pretty hard to push for that change, but yeah, lots of season to go, and crazier things have happened.
M. Night Shyamalan, by the way, is
Oh
the
yes,
director.
I was about to tell you. I did a quick search to make sure. I had a feeling that's who you were talking about, and um, but I didn't want to blurt it out and look silly. So, um,
No,
but
all good. I was waiting for you to finish your point. Yeah, unfortunately for Christian Horner and the team there in the Red Bull garage, I think they could have like a seal, a cogwheel, and like my grandmother in that like on that pit wall, and I think Max could still win a race.
yeah, I would think so.
So
I yeah, I don't know if that makes a significant difference for Max at least in the race weekends. But before we get into the Emilia Romagna Imola race weekend with our feeder series section, we just want to remind you, if you're listening, go ahead, hit like, hit subscribe. Follow us on our social medias. We're out there on TikTok, on Twitter. You can get updates about when we go live for episodes during our recording. You could be listening to us right now, and we would know it because we'd see you in the chat. But yeah, just hit all of those buttons. We really appreciate you taking the time and love being here to share our Formula One love with you guys.
thank you for tuning in. Thank you for your time, and back to the show.
So, getting into the feeder series section, we had Formula 3 and Formula 2 during this race weekend. So we're gonna move through these a little bit more pointedly over the coming race weekends for the F3 and F2 series. As we are getting deeper into the season, we'll probably have a little bit more to discuss. But looking at this third race weekend here for Formula 3 on the calendar, and in the sprint race, we're seeing Traments for MP Motorsports winning the race. P2 Del Pino for MP Motorsports, so a very good sprint race for them. And then Nicholas Solov for Campos Racing get rounding out the podium there. Nicholas Solov is of course a name that we've talked about before. We've seen him last year in Formula 3, and this being his second year, seeing him kind of progress as a driver here for the Campos squad. Um, and then looking over at the feature race, we had Ramos of Van Amersfoort Racing win the race, Stromstead for Trident in P2, and Kamara for Trident in P3. And so, with those three drivers kind of looking at that front of the field, Kamara and Stromstead both are looking to be two of the kind of stronger drivers here in the field. Kamara in the feature races so far has got won the first two and then podiumed with P3 here this weekend in Imola. Then Stromstead on the podium twice with two P2s and a P6 in the feature races. So the two of them at the moment are at the top of the Formula 3 standings and kind of looking like some of the stronger drivers that we'll most likely see progress into Formula 2 in the upcoming year. Just looking very, very strong at the moment for their squads.
Yeah, I think especially from the Formula 3 weekend, talking about the feature race, watching both Kamara and Ramos duking it out for it was a good portion of the race where Kamara would be in the lead for a little bit, Ramos is in the lead for a little bit, go for the overtake, swap positions. It really did feel kind of like an IndyCar race in that regard, where like holding the lead was no guarantee here in this race. So I thought that was really exciting. It was just like contested all the way through between the two of them, and then obviously like you had talked about Stromstead getting in the mix there, kind of late into that stint. So yeah, I think really great racing between the two of them, and like you said, especially for Kamara, should be one of the drivers to watch there, both for the championship and then hopefully look forward to seeing him in Formula 2 next year.
Yeah, and so we'll continue to kind of keep tabs on a number of these drivers that we anticipate moving up. We'll see Formula 3 again this coming weekend in Monaco. So they have back-to-back race weekends for the Formula 3 calendar that we'll get to see some of these drivers on a very different track with the Monaco Grand Prix. But Monaco is always a very fun one for me when it comes to F3 and F2 series because the cars are so much smaller than the Formula One cars. It's always fun seeing them go three wide at the hairpin and do some of the more interesting overtakes that you don't get to see in Formula One at Monaco. So looking forward to that with the F3 calendar. Sliding over to F2, to start off similarly with the sprint race, we had Jack Crawford, who is an Aston Martin Junior driver, Arvid Lindblad in P2, and then Lucas Browning in P3. Lindblad being Red Bull Junior, and then Lucas Browning being a Williams Junior driver. So very strong performances from the three of them in that sprint race. And then Alex Dunn, we see, who already has a win under his belt earlier in the season, getting the feature race win. Lucas Browning on the podium in the sprint and feature with a P2 here in the feature race. And then Dino Beganovic, who's a Ferrari junior driver, coming in third there in the feature race. So looking at some of these drivers who had strong performances, Arvid Lindblad is, of course, one of those Red Bull juniors that has been referenced in conversations when you talk about Liam Lawson or that Racing Bulls second seat for next year. So seeing him put in another solid weekend with that sprint race podium and everything is definitely that kind of step forward that Red Bull would want to see from a driver when they have things kind of up in the air a little bit still for next year's Racing Bulls seats.
Yeah, definitely. Once Red Bull is able to pick up their third team on the grid, they'll just be able to just start slotting these young drivers in wherever they can fit them. Eventually, it's just going to be like McLaren's just going to look around, and there's going to be eight other Red Bull teams. So yeah, Lindblad will hopefully and likely be on one of them. There'll be so many seats available in the near future once Red Bull slurps it all up. The one thing that I thought was crazy from the F2 races, the start from Jack Crawford in the sprint, like you could literally watch like the first 2 seconds of the race video and just like know what happens. Jack Crawford just shoots off the line, never looks back. He just just
Off into
smoked
the
him, like
distance, yeah.
literally smoked him, like it was crazy. So that start was like insane in the sprint, and then I've got to put my hall monitor sash on here for the feature race because, like, dude, big safety red flag, man. There's a driver that goes off. He like makes contact. His one of his like front left or whatever. It gets like literally ripped off. It's like just the rim. He hobbles off into the gravel. He pulls off to the side. This driver does what he's supposed to do, and not 10 seconds later, you get the clip of that corner, and there's literally cars like racing to overtake on that turn as this driver is still like sat in his car. He hasn't even gotten out yet. um the red flag hasn't even gone out. I'm pretty sure it was like yellow flag still, like no VSC, no safety car, no red flag, nothing. So that's like in my mind kind of a big oversight as far as like the safety goes. You want to just see better from pardon me, from the stewards. But yeah, other than that, I think the races kind of went off without a hitch. We saw some offs and some problems, but overall everything was fine. You just don't want to see that type of um yeah, like aggressive racing like while there's down vehicles on the track. That was just like kind of like jarring, scary almost.
Yeah, and especially after we've talked about it's like the mechanical things that have been done in Formula 1 to create safety and everything. Um even down to like the little light systems that they have in pit stops, even though Red Bulls was having issues the other week and the things happen with the pit lane and everything. But they've added so many mechanical things in, and it feels like really when there is some room for human error, that's when these instances kind of crop up the most frequently. But yeah, just being very slow on the reaction for getting the safety car out there and everything when you have a driver just to the side of the circuit in a very vulnerable position to to there's no reason to ever like be slow about how you handle that. Like those reactions need to be instant from the stewards and everything there up there. 3 place grid penalty for me. God damn it. Talking bad about the stewards here, but no, I mean there's you have to like react quickly in those instances. There's always going to be some weird human differences as well. We saw it in the Formula One race where we had a virtual safety car for one car stopping on the side of the track. Another car stops in almost the exact same spot on the track, very close by, and you get a full safety car for that. Like there's going to be that potential for differentiation and all in the decisions that just happens naturally, but when it comes to the safety aspect, you just have to pull the trigger a little bit quicker on that.
Yeah, it's one of the ones where it's like you'd rather, throw the red flag, like kind of like slow the race down and realize like, okay, maybe it wasn't that serious, and then just get racing again. When before you make the assumption of like, oh, it won't be that bad, and then somebody else gets hurt or something bad does happen. Definitely, yeah, erring on the side of caution is what I would vote for. But like I said, like nobody was hurt, everything was fine. The safety procedures eventually all rolled through. It was just like you're saying, just a little bit of a lag time. And maybe this would be a generous thing to say is like the scenes were more serious than like the scenario was.
Yeah, I think that's a fair way to put it. And
There you go.
yeah, I think there's always that room to grow, and like these situations being pointed out when they do happen so that kind of professional directives and decisions and everything can be kind of pushed forward into that safer side for these drivers, then that's always better. So of course everything was good, but just one of those things that can be a little bit sketchy to see initially when we were watching through the Formula 2 race there. But the main thing that or main final point I guess I have with these drivers, just looking at some of the top drivers here in the standings: Alex Dunn, Lucas Browning in P2 in the championship at the moment. I find it interesting to see them and kind of wonder what their future will look like. And when you have Arvid Lindblad, who potentially has one of those 4 seats available to him, where Alex Dunn as McLaren Jr., no matter how well he does this year, is not going to be getting the drive over Oscar or Lando next year. So potential kind of bottleneck for him. And similarly with Lucas Browning as a Williams Jr., and especially after seeing the Williams team this weekend, Alex Albon and Carlos Sainz, I don't imagine they're going to be going anywhere making way for Lucas Browning either. So one of those timings, situation, things that will see as the driver lineups and promotions and whatnot for the future kind of come up through, but a little bit less room for them to move up potentially, even with a very strong start to the F2 season for the two of those drivers.
Yeah, especially in regards to McLaren specifically, because yeah, Norris and Piastri happy where they are, contracts for a good number of years now. So I don't think they're going to be tapping the junior, junior categories really anytime soon. Unfortunately, for the younger ones that are in those seats, but maybe maybe they'll be other teams that'll look for an opportunity, but as far as like going up their main pipeline, yeah, probably pretty closed off.
Yeah, so tough for that to potentially be the situation, but reserve driver options and the future is still open for them and other teams, of course, as well. Um, but
Yeah,
that
look at Drugovich. She's doing great.
yeah, absolutely. But you could get bottlenecked but behind nepotism and a 42-year-old. Sometimes it just happens.
Dude, can you
um,
imagine just having to just every time the camera cuts to you, just put a smile on like this doesn't just kill me. This doesn't just kill me.
yeah, it has to be a tough spot for him, but still a part of the team and therefore that potential opportunity down the road. You never know. But before we move on into the F1 race and recap, we've got another episode of the hot seat for you this week with Imola circuit for the Emilia Romagna Grand Prix. Justin, I am ready to do mediocre.
I'm hoping we're able to do a little bit better than mediocre today. The producers, they told me, they said, "Boy, we need a 5 out of 5 this week. Sweeps week, we need a 5 out of 5." I said, "All right, I'll see what I can do here." So you could be easily fooled if you're here. Let me just figure out the history. All right, Italian Grand Prix. Oh, man, okay, there's 10 in a year. Okay, great. So Emilia Romagna Grand Prix. Wait, they said there's so much history here. Wait, it's ran for what, 5 years? Let me figure this. Oh, okay. So what you got to do to get the whole story, you gotta look at the Imola circuit. What's going on now? It's very modern, very new. We call it the Autodroma Internazionale, Dino E. Enzo Ferrari circuit. It's got the whole new modern name in memoriam to the Ferrari owner, creator, inventor,
Founders. Yep.
founder. I guess all of those would work. And now for the name Emilia Romagna Grand Prix. It's not named for like the region that it's in. Imola effectively is like out of the naming of the circuit now. So you gotta go back a little bit. The Emilia Romagna Grand Prix is now like the very modern version of what's has a very long history. Here's one thing I'll give you. An easy question that we could have had on here was about Ayrton Senna in 1994. I didn't want to just make that event just like basically just like a factoid, like a trivia thing.
Makes
I
sense.
believe that something like that should be treated with a little more reverence. So notably, that's not on here, but I do believe the producers are going to be pleased. I did my best to lock him in a 5 out of 5 here. So Aaron, you ready to get into the hot seat?
Sounds good. Let's get started.
All right, so question number one: turns 2, 3, and 4 have been added as safety for the track has increased. What is the name of this set of corners? It's been this name the whole time. It's just specifically it's been like reformatted. So, what is the name of this set of corners? Is it A, Variante Alta? Is it B, the Tamburello chicane? Or is it C, Big Curve?
uh A.
Wrong, actually. It's the
Oh
Tamburello
wait, it is
chicane.
the Tamburello. Oh, I am overthinking it already, man. Producers are going to be upset with me on that one.
Botched. Holy hell. All right. Question number 2. The Autodroma Internazionale Enzo E. Dino Ferrari circuit has now an FIA Grade 1, but it was not always in the championship. What sport was the circuit originally constructed for? Was it A, motorcycle races, B, on foot running races, or C, buggy racing?
Uh, a motorcycle racing.
You got it. Yeah, the first race back in like the 1950s was a motorcycle race. Very exciting stuff. Now, question number 3. This circuit is considered a home race for which current Maranello based constructor? Is it A, Ferrari, B, Mercedes, or C, Red Bull?
A Ferrari.
Nailed it. All right, this boy knows where his teams are from. He knows where they're coming from. We got 2 out of 3. Let's see if we can finish strong here. Now, question number 4. Max has won. We got Max fact for you. Max has won the last 4 runnings of this race. Who is the only driver to beat Max at this circuit? Is it A, Valtteri Bottas? Is it B, Franz Herrmann? Or is it C, Lewis Hamilton?
C. Lewis Hamilton.
Nailed it. All right, we got 3 in a row. 3 in a row. We are fuego. Let's see if we can get this last one locked in. All right, question number 5. Which All right, this is going to be a doozy. You're honestly which current Red Bull team member holds the original circuit? So as you understand, the circuit's been changed a bunch, right? So which current Red Bull team member holds the original circuit's lap record? Is it A, Christian Horner? Is it B, Giampiero Lambiase? Or is it C, Helmut Marko?
The um oh, that is a doozy. I'm gonna go with Horner because he's the only one that I know had a significant racing history. So I'm gonna go with Christian Horner, but based on the age, I feel like Helmut Marko would have been an interesting guess.
Helmut Marko would have been the correct guess.
Mm,
It was the Austrian driver that is now social media market head for Red Bull. Yeah, Helmut Marko holds the
ah,
original circuit lap record in
interesting.
what I don't think it exists anymore. I don't think it's like an active racing series, but it was called Category 7 and it was like a LMP1 like hypercar looking vehicle.
Oh wow, very interesting. Because yeah, based on the age, I should have gone with that, but I to be honest was not very aware of Helmut Marko's game. Sorry for being unfamiliar.
Dude, neither was I. Like I
That's
knew that
wild.
one would throw you because when I encountered that, I was like, wait, what? I literally had to like dig deeper and confirm that it was like actually the same guy. It's like, oh yeah, it's the same guy. Holy hell.
That's
So yeah,
hilarious.
really fun question there for the end. But yeah, 4 out of 5, not bad. I don't think
Three
the
out of five.
producers are gonna. Oh shit, you're right, man. You're right. 3 out of 5. I think I
Producers are
might
gonna
get
be mad.
flogged. Yeah, I think I might get flogged. Okay, no. We don't want this up to end now. But yeah, that was the hot seat here for the Emilia Romagna Grand Prix. Hope you at home were able to get some right. Hope you had fun. But yeah, let's move right along. I want to talk about the winners and losers from the weekend. I think there may be some disagreement possible in that regard. So yeah, let's move through to some of our other sections.
Sounds good. I'll lead you off with my first winner of the weekend, and it's the Red Bull team. Obviously not the maximum that they would have hoped for in terms of Yuki's race weekend. Crashing and qualifying, starting from the pit lane, but for him to have the pace and ability And for them to get the team strategy calls right for him to move up from that P20 up into the points to finish the race in P10, I think that is a positive on the team side. And then of course for Yuki, I think he's obviously he's pushing the limits of what he can get out of the car and everything, and there's going to be those moments for him, but to bounce back, get up into the points, and kind of salvage his weekend a little bit is definitely a positive upswing on the weekend. And of course Max with the win, the upgrades that they brought to the car working for them, and just kind of getting the calls right on the strategy decisions. Just a mega weekend for the Red Bull organization and team there. So a super positive weekend for Red Bull.
Yeah, I think that's a great one. I had my first winner as Max, obviously. Can't hate, great performance. The only thing I'll add, I think what made it interesting, I think, was that even they were a bit surprised by the pace. They were a bit surprised by how successful they were, especially on race day. So not even something like they kind of expected going into the day. So yeah, just another interesting angle that made it quite an impressive win there for Red Bull on the weekend. So yeah, I definitely agree with your choice there.
And probably one of the best overtakes that I've ever seen at the start of the race there for Max. That was a pretty insane move that he pulled on Oscar. I don't think Oscar could have really expected that. I don't think anyone expected that at the start of the race. So just a crazy and impressive drive from Max to get himself into P1 and then have that clean air to go run away from it. Um, but yeah, that was pretty wild start to the race.
Yeah, I definitely would agree. I've like there's nothing I can say that will make that overtake more impressive. You just kind of got to let it speak for itself in that regard. Although Alex Brundle did a really great job of kind of laying out, even though it happens in like fractions of a second, basically like laying out exactly what happened. And it was the boxing of Max into George, kind of pinning him there for a little bit, gave him the opportunity to go forward. So I thought that was really impressive. The critical take that I have as not an inherent Max slash Red Bull fan on a race weekend. When I have my podcaster microphone packed away and I'm just like, just watching as a fan. It does feel very much like the fix is in there for Max in that regard, where Red Bull like called Ocon and they're like, "Hey, yeah, whenever McLaren pits, just park your car." Ocon's like, "Yeah, no problem." Like it was literally like clockwork. Like
Oh, it
Norris
was
pits,
brutal.
Ocon parks his car, Max gets like just handed the cheater pit stop, as it were.
Yeah,
So big red hair in that regard for me watching the race, but I mean, real recognize real. Like it was very impressive. McLaren did not have the pace to chase down like at all. He was, again, same thing that Crawford did earlier in the weekend, just smoked him. Literally from the line, he was gone. So yeah, nothing more they could have done in that regard. So yeah, I would just have to agree. Just great race from them.
yeah, and for my second winner, I had the Williams team for the second spot here. Just really good pace on the weekend. It's kind of crazy to just see them fully on merit racing, the Ferraris, the Mercedes cars, and everything. And Alex Albon with the P5 finish, in my opinion, should have been P4, but he got body checked a little bit by Leclerc, and Lewis Hamilton, who was on a good set of tires, comes on through. And still overall a phenomenal weekend for Albon and the Williams team there. Signs finishes in P8 as well. So a really nice points grab for them, picking up 14 points on the weekend, and just kind of extending that fifth place gap that they have back to the Haas team and the back of the field here. That was a just a really big weekend for them for snagging some points.
Yeah, again, I had the same winner as you. The only thing I can really add, you made a lot of good points. The only thing I can really add, I really enjoyed hearing from Alex Albon on the radio when he was going back and forth with his radio. They were giving him congratulations. He was very much advocating for himself and for the team, saying like, "All right, we're doing good. Let's not be stupid. Let's make sure we're making the right moves." To some, that may sound critical, but to my ear, that just sounds like somebody who understands in the moment the position that they're in, and to like keep maximizing, keep trying to make the right decisions, because obviously like you can go backwards very fast. So it seems like Albon was just racing with his head on Sunday, and yeah, I really like to see that. So good stuff coming out of the pit wall, good stuff coming out of the drivers, and they're really surging, I would say.
Yeah, really just I don't have much more to say with it, but yeah,
Yeah.
Williams has been a nice surprise so far this year. But Justin, why don't you give me your first loser of the weekend?
Man, for a young gentleman's first like home race in Formula One, I have to say Kimi Antonelli just really tough for Mercedes that we've kind of expected to see up into that Q1 sector. Wasn't able to make it there, knocked out in Q2, so that's really tough. And then during the race, obviously not really his fault, mechanical failure, but he doesn't even get to finish in that regard. So really just not the best. When you hear from the young driver, stated that he may have been able to manage his energy levels a little bit better. Maybe he was like over indexing into maybe the celebrations, the living it up as it were, but overall felt that he was pretty focused, but maybe just something that he could improve on in that regard. But yeah, I think Antonelli likely would want a different shot at this weekend for sure.
Yeah, and I think there's always that little bit of superstition almost with a home race weekend and everything. We've seen that Charles Leclerc for years had just terrible luck at the Monaco Grand Prix at his home race. So for Kimmy, definitely tough to not finish, but he really and this kind of leads into my one of my losers this week was the Mercedes team. So aligned with you there. Tough that he didn't finish. Really tough to go out in that Q2 of qualifying to be beat out by two Aston Martins. Both of the Ferrari drivers knocked out in Q2 as well. So further down than he would have expected or anticipated starting. On his own. And then on George Russell's side there with Mercedes, just a really a tough weekend. He had a good qualifying, but then throughout the weekend, throughout the race, he just didn't sound very comfortable with the car, and including during the race, thinking that something could potentially be actually wrong with the car because he felt so unsettled with the rear end and talking about even like the rear end of the car moving just in a straight line as well. So a weekend to forget a little bit for Mercedes. George ends up P7 there, picks up a few points, but not the consistency and just constant top five finishes that George has shown us so far this year either on his side of that Mercedes garage.
Sure, I think that's pretty reasonable. Seeing them not really probably get the most out of their weekend. Losing out in some places like that. So yeah, I would have to agree as well. My second loser here for the weekend, and this is just like to be pretty critical, I think, the McLaren outfit. I think Piastri could have maximized a little bit better. There were a couple moments in the race, especially turn one. I mean, well, the one side of it is great overtake from Max. The other side of it is, especially when you hear from Piastri's side, he was like, I didn't even know you could do that effectively.
Yeah.
So like maybe in a way he's like caught sleeping in that regard. It in some ways though, especially when you watch it from Max's point of view, it does kind of feel like checkmate in the positioning that he has, like middle of the track on the braking line. It's like a really tough position to take back if you're Piastri. However, it's not just there, it's in the restart too, where Max just gets the better of him, bar none, just period. Piastri is like a second and four behind just very quickly. Max was gone like a light again. So I think in an opportunity where Piastri may have been able to stick closer, obviously the tire question, but the restart itself was not the best. So I think Piastri may not feel the best about this, and these are points that you're gonna want back if you're looking back from round 22, wondering, man, where can I get 6 points? Oh, it would have been there.
Yeah, and I think he just ended up in a pretty tough spot. Initially, he had one of the pretty early pit stops in comparison to the majority of the field, pitting on lap 13, where Lando didn't pit till lap 28. So a kind of difference in strategy there, trying to do like an extreme undercut. It also felt like the tires kind of went through a funky window where people were struggling a lot early with the tire life, but then after you hit a certain point, they kind of stabilized a bit more to the ability of these other drivers taking those medium tires to 29 laps before they're getting the safety car or the virtual safety car and getting the pit stop there. Um, so I think Oscar was a little unfortunate in that aspect. Um, on the side of the restart, and I think obviously like I agree with you that he lost out in terms of the points and everything, but I can't imagine how hard those restarts have to be because especially when Max is starting it because he has had so many opportunities to practice that over the past few years where he's leading a race and safety car
Or following as
happens and
well.
yeah and he the one thing that really impresses me just from him on those restarts is even the broadcast cannot pinpoint where he's gonna start and where he's gonna take off at. They're like, oh, he'll probably wait until he's getting here towards the end. Oh, and he's gone. And it's like,
Mhm.
oh, okay. Like, you guys have no idea. And the fact that Max keeps everyone guessing so much, I think that plays into his hands so much on that end that I imagine it would be a pretty tough prospect to try and get the jump on him at a restart like that.
Yeah, sure. It doesn't seem like an easy position to be in. Just thinking of like, all right, if these are the two main guys, if we're trying to look at like min maxing, like where is there more to gain? I think in a long season, like these moments end up becoming the question mark. Like
Yeah.
remember when we were talking about Lando Norris, like yeah, they still won the championship, but you could still make the argument that he did struggle in his race starts. He would fumble
Yeah.
at either his initial fire up sequence or like the going into turn one. Like these were things that they struggled with. So just trying to be a little
Oh yeah.
critical, not always, just throwing just nothing but love their way. Just trying to find things that do separate these competitors and what the difference between these two are. And those starts and the turn ones and the restarts. Yeah, these are things that Max has a lot of experience in. So just thinking of ways that and I'm
Oh
sure
yeah,
Piastri sees all of this too, like, how he will improve over the course of the year, you know.
definitely. And I'm sure he's kicking himself on it. Like it's hard to get much emotion out of him, but in the post race press conferences, he was like, yeah, like you said, kind of just didn't even think that that could happen. Like he had a really good getaway. But yeah, the fact that George probably had the best start of anyone on the grid, kind of pigeonholed him a little bit to have to protect the inside line against George, and it just yeah didn't pan out as well for him for that first run into turn one. But for my second loser of the weekend, so this is where we diverge here a little bit. I went with Franco Colapinto. You come in and you're kind of expected to you're not expected to do extremely well, but you kind of want to at least be where that last guy was in terms of where you're starting from. Get that, put that right foot forward right off the bat, and he crashes out during qualifying, demolishes the car there, really puts the Alpine um, mechanics through the ringer to just get his car back to the grid the next day. And then unfortunately just doesn't or isn't able to do much in the race or make much progress there, finishing down in P16 with the Haas and Kick Sauber behind him as the only two finishers behind him. A kind of a wonky start to his new era of his F1 career here with Alpine, and so I imagine he would have wanted a lot more from the weekend than he got. But then again, you look at a guy like Isaac Hadjar, another rookie out there, who doesn't even make it to the grid the first race of the season. Probably one of the most demoralizing moments that you could have as a rookie going into your first race and you crash out on your way to the grid. And he has really turned his weekend or his season around over the past 5 race weekends. So Colapinto, can't write him off, but definitely not the start he would have hoped for.
Yeah, and even from the young driver, he stated like, I've got a lot to learn here. So he sees it. Obviously, I'm sure the team sees it, but yeah, he's got two more races here very quickly. In the right in the early stages of a triple header. So he'll have many opportunities very shortly here to redeem himself, and I have no doubt that he will. Because I mean, we saw him over the course of a few races last year as well. He was no slouch, had no problem like completing these races. So I think just given another opportunity, we'll see a totally different side of Cole Pinto. I have a strong feeling of that actually.
Yeah, and he definitely showed some really good natural pace last year with his opportunities. He did have a little bit of a penchant for crashing last year as
Sure.
well, so that would be the only thing that I he really would need to really get in line a bit better quickly. Especially with that being one of those things that Flavio was kind of like, yeah, as long as he's not smashing up the car every weekend, we want to see how he does. So one weekend, tough start, but I'm sure he'll continue to improve across the year. And that Alpine has had moments where it's looked really good. So I'm sure that he'll have those opportunities to perform here. Um, but wrapping out the winners and losers, this is now our quarter of the way through the season point. We're 6 races through out of 24. And I just wanted to give a little highlight or shout out to the two rookies that of Antonelli and Hadjar, who I have been super impressed with so far into the season. Ollie Behrman is no slouch either, but definitely, in my mind, has a bit more work to do than what we're seeing from those two of Hajar and Antonelli. Um, Kimmy has looked really good. The sprint pole position, P3 qualifying, last race out in Miami, and then Hajar, like I said, after that first weekend, has really bounced back. He's in the points again this week, snagging P9 and staying ahead of Yuki there. So a just a really impressive performance from Hajar over the past few races to pick up a number of points for himself. He's up there all the way in 14th in the championship right now with 7 points, tied with Pierre Gasly, and could very easily sneak his way up the standings ahead of him as well. Um, so yeah, I've just been really impressed with those two thus far in the season. And I also wanted to give a quick shout out to Kimi Antonelli wearing some 100 Thieves gear coming into the race weekend, wearing some one of their jackets. I thought that was a cool little crossover
That's
for us.
actually that is actually kind of sick. Yeah, Hajar the honey badger. That's what I'm gonna call this guy. Let me figure out how do I do this. How do I do this? Mod button. Oh, there we go. There we go. We figured it out. But yeah, dude, Hajar, the honey badger, that's what I'm calling him from now on. He's so resilient for a rookie from the start that he had to some of the things they had to deal with. I think he's like performing really well. As far as the rookie conversation goes, I would agree he's like kind of one of my favorites in that regard. So yeah, good shout for that. But yeah, for the Kimi Antonelli angle, I'll give you another crossover. When he was talking to, some like the journalists, they were all asking him questions. They were like, "Oh, yo, like how did it feel having your classmates, in the garage?" And he's like, "Oh, it was so fun and blah blah blah." The only thing I could think of, or like what started playing in my mind, was the old video of Darshan where it's like even his teacher calls him Zion Spartan, and it's like him in the hallways of like his school when everybody's like, "Oh, it was so
Yeah.
cool when we found out that he plays video games." And I was like just thinking the same thing. It's like, "Oh, it's so cool when we found out that he races cars." Like, "Oh, it was so cool." And like,
Yeah.
man, even my teacher calls me Andrea Kimi Antonelli. Like, oh, it was so great. So I
Uh,
was I was dying at that crossover. But on top of that, he's wearing 100 Thieves merch, which is just like even better. That's so funny.
Yeah, and funny he made said something about like his teacher wasn't invited because he had papers to grade or something like that. He was like, I hope he's enjoying being home
Get
with his
owned,
so
dumb
yeah,
teacher.
kind of
Boo.
a fun what was probably a fun weekend for him for all the external things for Kimmy, but yeah, a fun one there and some kind of funny crossovers we had. But in terms of kind of like team driver standings and everything at this point through the season, kind of the tail of the tape was my little note that I had here, but we're looking
Isn't that
like
wingspan?
tail of the tape,
Yeah, doesn't isn't tape indicative of like their
like a tape
wingspan?
measure.
Yeah.
Um, I have always just heard of it as like a more referencing a tail of the tape, like the highlight reel, like the
Oh,
video,
okay,
like the
gotcha.
videotape. So that's how I was thinking of it,
Fair.
um
Continue. I want to
but
hear
yeah,
it.
so at this point in the season, we've got McLaren kind of running away with it. And I mean, last year we could have said the same thing about Red Bull and Max at the start of the year, really having the leg up on everyone. So it's by no means out of reach, but almost double the points of Mercedes at the moment at this point. 138 points ahead of Mercedes in the championship, and then Red Bull is in third, 16 points back from Mercedes. But yeah, that top four has kind of all started to move themselves up and away from P5 and down, with Williams kind of sitting in the middle there. But the exciting thing to me is really there's just a long way to go in the drivers championship fight as well. Even with the tough weekend for George, he is not too far down in terms of his ability to kind of fight back into this championship fight. But the top being separated by, we've got 22 points between Oscar in P1 and Max in P3. Lando's 13 points back. I mean, that's a couple of race wins for any of those drivers, and they're making up those gaps between them, just on the point differential. I mean, Lando being 13 points back from Oscar, if he gets two P1s with Oscar in P2, he's 1 point ahead in the championship. So there's a lot to play for still. And seeing this many drivers like in a pretty competitive fight, even through just a quarter of the season, is just super exciting to see, and kind of makes me look forward to the rest of the year we have coming up.
Yeah, first phase of the season done. I'd say that's a pretty good summary of things. Gives us a good idea of the standings, where some of the key drivers are sat. So yeah, I think that'll set us up well for especially like phase two and three, because I think in phase two and three of the season we'll still be able to have conversations about like title fight competition, and then well, at least in phase two, but phase three, we may get into a point where like somebody has clearly run away with it. But yeah, at least moving into the races that we have right now, there's definitely room for position shakeouts and for people to be beaten. So definitely some excitement in that regard. I agree.
Yeah, and I think in that third stretch of the season, we'll also probably have some new storylines forming in terms of the driver market and everything. Um,
Oh sure.
Talking about kind of just some of the other little notes I had on the weekend, but Liam Lawson, just I was hoping he would have a good weekend this weekend, and he still just is not finding his footing with the Racing Bulls car. He qualifies P16. He finishes the race down in P14. So no points for him there. Still just struggling a bit with finding, and no points on the season thus far. So later in the season, that really, if he continues to have these struggles, we may see some intrigue about that seat. Especially with Hajar performing so well in comparison, picking up a number of points across the year so far. I think he's had um, 3 points finishes in the last five races, which is definitely a good thing for him to hang his cap on. But I think, yeah, as we get into the later stages of the season, we'll probably end up with a little bit more of those storylines as well. Looking at 2026, the Cadillac seats potentially being set in place, so a lot to look forward to across the year, and a long season. Um, but were there any other team notes, driver notes from the Emilia Romagna Grand Prix that you wanted to touch on, get into a little bit?
I would be remiss if I didn't point out the Aston Martin, at least qualifying session.
Yeah.
That was like really surprising. Them knocking out the Ferraris was like in the moment, it's like, what the hell just happened, right? That was not something that you're expecting. Obviously, they drifted back a little bit in the race as well. So not really able to capitalize in that regard, but showing some strong pace, at least in the qualifying, showing showing that the upgrade package that they brought to the circuit that we or this past weekend is at least a step in the right direction, something that they can be encouraged about. So yeah, I think it'd be a little maybe biased to not bring them up. I'm quick to shit on a Lance Stroll, but I'll be quick to bring it up when they've done something well. So at least their Saturday session was pretty alarming, like pretty impressive, I would say.
Yeah, and so it's very interesting to see. I think that was also it was built up a little bit by teams struggling to get those C6 soft tires in the right windows. So they ran
There
with
you
the
go.
C5 medium tire on that run that got them into Q3. And so, but on that side, really good team strategy decision. They're like, what do we have to lose? And then kind of just got a little bit unfortunate, I think, with some of the timings of their initial pit stops and then safety cars and whatnot. It just kind of shuffled them back the order, unfortunately. But it was definitely a nice little spot there to see. And then the other note, kind of in the same vein, the Nico Hulkenberg P12 finish with a solid qualifying for him as well. Or sorry, not a solid qualifying for him. We had Gabriel Bortoleto getting out of Q1 into Q2. Hulkenberg starting P17 and still climbs his way up the field to P12 was solid weekend for him and definitely a improvement from what we've seen from Kick Sauber over the past couple of races.
Yeah, for sure. And him able to improve his position, we love to see that. And I make jokes about it all the time, but it's getting like increased. So I'm just gonna have a record of me saying this. Racing Bulls needs to stop saying the quiet part out loud with how they are. Oh, we're just the farm team. Like we're just training young talent. And then you have in the actual race, it's like your only job here is to help Max. And then just a myriad of other scenarios where it's like we're not even pretending anymore that we're not even pretending that these are two different teams. It is just a four seat Red Bull team, and the Racing Bulls have to help out the other one sometimes. I just find it hilarious. Like, believe me, I don't care. It doesn't bother me either way. I just think it's funny how we're all operating under the same illusion that yes, they are two different teams, and yes, this will all be okay. I'm just waiting for the news report of like McLaren buys Alpine for a whopping like whatever $1 billion, and it'll be like, well, yeah, they can because Red Bull did it first. I'm just waiting for the next org to like capitalize, get in on the action.
Yeah, I think I think the only other thing that could happen is it just swings the other way and the FIA finally is like no, you can't own two teams when every other organization has a single team. Like that's kind of a little weird. And obviously there's the oh well they can't share car secrets and they can't do all that and everything, which hey, that's its own thing. But if everything else is intertwined, it is definitely a little wonky to look at and and see week to week. Um, with that, and in particular too, with them actually having some decent moments so far this year. They're ahead of Alpine and Sauber in the championship right now. Like it's not like they're sitting in last place just data farming, but they're also like they kind of are.
Right, which is weird.
it's
It's like a
it's
weird in between.
Yeah, it's definitely a funky situation. And to be honest, I my mind would lean more towards the FIA just being like, you guys got to sell the team. There's still
Right.
always going to be connections, whether it's drivers, academies, or different things. Even Nico Hulkenberg and Max trading, giving each other slipstreams during qualifying because my buddy gave me a slipstream on that last run, so I'm gonna do the same thing for him on this one. Um, that's a little less obvious than the way things are at the moment there.
I mean, like at Monaco, we're gonna see like Hajar and Lawson shuffling people out of the way so Max can just zoom on through. They're gonna be like, oh, they're gonna be like the goon squad, like you used to have goon squads in hockey. That's what they're gonna be.
No, that they are their team principal isn't Flavio Briatore. Come on, man.
That'd be wild. All right, I'm
they're
I'm just like I'm just getting super silly now. It like I honestly don't believe it's a problem. I just think it's funny how like it's just come up more and more
it's
of
just
like how
weird.
closely, yeah, exactly, of like how closely like they're like quote unquote working together or something. I'm like, all right, just get a room already. Like, come on.
Yeah, definitely it is weird, and that's why I feel like more than anything like it's all fair game in the rules like you said. Current rules, McLaren could just go and buy Sauber, or well, I guess Audi bought them. So Haas and just say, "Hey Gene, you can't leave the U.S. Here. Let me throw some money at you to have a good time, and we'll take your team off your hands." But yeah, definitely. It's funny hearing that conversation and everything. But overall, very fun Emilia Romagna Grand Prix there. We may never be at Imola ever again. We'll have to just go see some motorcycle racing over there. I think MotoGP does race there still as well. So
World Endurance Cup as well.
okay, so we'll have some other ways to get our fix of the Imola circuit there. Um, but a fun weekend leading into Monaco, very different circuit, and its own set of unique aspects with the qualifying session and everything being a huge part of that for the upcoming race.
Yeah, I think it'll be a good time. If you are following along at home, the podium for this past weekend's race at the Emilia Romagna Grand Prix was P1 Max Verstappen, P2 Lando Norris, P3 Oscar Piastri. So the championship heats up between those three drivers. As like you said, we move into Monaco, phase two of a triple header. That yeah, I think is going to be quite exciting. But yeah, let's get these people out of here. Let's get into the cooldown lap.
Sounds good. So I'll lead you off with my rose thorn and seed for this week, but my rose thanks to Colleen, we are on our way almost all the way through another house project. Our front porch was painted, and so we have removed almost all of the paint from it so that we can seal it properly and repaint it so that it doesn't have water that comes up through the concrete and bubbles up under the paint and looks bad. It's been a pet peeve for Colleen for a little bit now, and so we are with her um, pushing, always pushing forward with the house projects. We are almost wrapping that one up. It's been a not the most exciting project. I would not recommend it to most people, but I'm very happy to see the light at the end of the tunnel now, which is why it's my rose here for the week. My seed for the week is that we have a vacation to North Carolina and the Outer Banks coming up with some friends. So looking forward to that. It'll be a good time to be just relaxing, soaking in the sun a little bit, and having a nice time. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. But my thorn this week, coming back into cars, is that my car has been a goddamn nightmare over the past couple of weeks. I took it in to the shop to uh, get my inspection and oil change. That's what it was there for. I go, I drop off the car, I get a phone call a little bit later. Hey, with the inspection, we've got to do X, Y, and Z. And by the way, you also need 4 new tires. I'm like, sick. That's definitely what I wanted to spend my money on. But hey, it is what it is. You throw the money at it and you get your car back. Uh, Only for 2 days later, I'm at Wawa. I go to start my car to head on home, and my key snaps. So the metal key that goes into my car, because it is an older car, snaps right out of the plastic. Um, I drive my car home, and then I go to get in it later, and it will not start for me. So at the time, I didn't relate the two. I assumed that something must have happened during the inspection. Maybe something got bumped, jostled loose, that was causing this starting issue. I get my car towed back over to the shop to have them look at it. They determine new alternator. Your alternator just happened to go bad 2 days after this, after you were in for inspection. Just these things go. You had it replaced a couple years ago, and they used a crappy part. So we usually see these things go after X amount of time. I'm like, all right, go for it. New alternator, just tack it onto my tab there. Only for going to pick up my car after hours from the place. My keys there, ready to go. I go to start it, and they had left my lights on, so my battery is dead, and I cannot start my car. So just issue after issue. Finally, I go back to try and jump it on Saturday. This was Friday that it that they left my lights on. I go back Saturday, drive over trying to jump it. An employee happens to come by. They're closed on the weekend, but tries to help me out. No success. Cannot get the car started. Only to find out today that because my key was broken and I was trying to just use the little metal piece to stick in the ignition and turn until I can get my car somewhere to get a spare made, uh, that it has to all be together in one piece because the car recognizes some radio frequency with the key. So probably didn't need a new alternator. Probably could have had my car back a week and a half sooner. But it has just been quite a torrid affair over the past couple of weeks to uh, get my car back home here this evening.
Damn, that is brutal. I'm surprised with the tires. You didn't just tell him like, nah, I like to race on slicks.
I should have. I should have just stuck with it. And they would have said, "Sorry, we cannot pass you for inspection." And
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, so I had to bite the bullet on that one. I had to do a quick
Yeah.
pit stop, tire change, but yeah, it's just been a saga, and I can only look at it and laugh and just be like, I mean, I can't do anything about it now, but I've definitely I appreciate that the car is paid off, so these uh maintenance repairs aren't on top of a monthly car payment too. So
Sure,
uh, I'll
sure.
I'll take it with a grain of salt there, but it has definitely been a pretty frustrating stretch with my lovely little Toyota Corolla.
Damn, man. Well, I hope she gets better soon. I hope she, turns the corner here because yeah, that's definitely a saga. That's
As soon as
crazy.
I get the new key, which I'm hoping to get tomorrow, I think I'll be in good shape. So we'll
Hell yeah.
we'll hopefully have a positive post Monaco update.
Damn, that's crazy. I'm sorry that happened to you.
That's life. That's cars. That's motor racing.
That is motor racing indeed. You know what? I actually think I'm just gonna cross out my thorn. I don't think anything that I could give you is like as bad or as entertaining as that. So I'm just gonna kindly opt out of a thorn for this week because the one that I have is not as good.
Mine was
Um,
enough for the both of us. That's fine.
yeah, it's enough for the both of us. I will give you my rose here. Sarah and I spent maybe a little bit of a date night on Saturday. We went to the Reading Symphony Orchestra
Ooh,
and
okay.
saw a show there. That was a very entertaining couple of hours. We saw a four act show. It was Siberius One. They had a guest pianist come in and I guess feature on one of the parts of the song. So that was like a standout, that was a highlight. So that was pretty cool thing to do there on the weekend. And then just something I'm looking forward to, my seed. We have the first season coming to a close here of Counter-Strike
Mm,
in the next 15 days here. We have the Austin Major starting up. So stage one of the major will be booting up very shortly, just 15 short days. Right now there's a tournament going on in Dallas, and then like I said, the season will culminate there at the major. And it is the Austin Major. I think it's an ESL major.
probably.
Unsure, but yeah, it's gonna be a good one. A lot of fun storylines to get excited for going into it. So yeah, that's something I'm big looking forward to. But other than that, that is my rose, thorn, and seed.
Nice. Look at you, Mr. Culture, going and seeing the Reading Symphony Orchestra. That's pretty cool.
It was good stuff.
Yeah, and see CS is always a fun time, so I'll have to tune into some of that as well. But with that being the end of the cooldown lap here, folks, that brings us to the end of the episode. Thank you all for listening and hanging out with us. We really appreciate it. We love to do this week in and week out after these race weekends. So don't forget to check back next week for our post Monaco Grand Prix recap episode there as well.
Yeah, just tell your friends and family. We've got hot, fresh, new Formula One content coming at you after every single Formula One event. So stay tuned to the episodes to keep up on everything Formula One and the associated motorsport. But till then, just thank you very much for being here. Peace out, everyone.
So yeah,